We continue to follow breaking news out of France, where officials say the Olympics opening ceremony will go ahead as planned despite several coordinated attacks targeting France's high-speed train network and causing utter chaos for stranded travelers. You see them there. Railway staff and police working at the scenes of at least 3 attacks in more rural areas of the country. They've said at least one potential attack was foiled. France's state railway company said the, quote, sabotage is disrupting travel for about 800,000 passengers and damaged station facilities. CNN senior law enforcement analyst and former FBI director Andrew McCabe joining us this morning. Thank you so much for coming in for us this morning. Wow, what are you learning about these attacks and what do you make of them? We haven't seen like a statement or anything so far, I don't think.
We haven't seen that yet, but we know that these attacks took place in multiple locations, targeting multiple train lines, mostly lines affecting the northern and eastern sides of France, which is the main routes to the rest of Europe. We know that they targeted the high-speed train lines, so the most kind of high-profile, likely most important train lines to the country. We also know that they were targeted in a way that destroyed a cabling system that's necessary to protect the safety of the drivers. It appears that these actions were done in a way that didn't actually put a moving train with passengers on it in immediate jeopardy. It seems from the very little reporting we have so far that this was an attack that was really designed to bring the system down rather than to inflict mass casualties on civilians. And that's important, Sarah, because it gives us some indication that this may be the result of a political group or a group that's trying to send a message to the French government rather than the sort of attacks we think of instantly, which is those perpetuated by ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Those groups typically look to cause mass casualties in a way that the world will see. So the modus operandi here is, I think, particularly instructive at this point.
If you're looking into, who is behind this, I mean, it happened right before the opening ceremony, the day of the opening ceremonies, clearly to get the world's attention. What would you be looking for to try to figure out why this happened? And would you expect that in the next day or so, maybe today, you would start to find out what the message that was supposed to be sent was?
Well, I'm quite sure that the French law enforcement and intelligence community have many folks that they're focused on this morning. Kind of domestic disturbances and political protests that turn violent are fairly common in France. There was a period where France underwent nightly violent protests in some of the suburbs around Paris. For really driven by all sorts of different social and political issues. There are large immigrant populations in those suburbs that feel like that they're not adequately represented and given the same sort of kind of help that they wish to have, things like that. So I would expect that the community, law enforcement intelligence community, is looking at all of those groups that basically have complaints with the French government, whether they be far left or far right, almost doesn't matter. You have a wide variety of groups that are politically motivated and that are opposed to the French government or the actions of the French government. And I would expect those folks, those groups are probably highest on the list of possible suspects this morning. It's probably just a matter of time before we hear from some of them taking responsibility for these actions as well.
The show must go on. That's the word from the Paris Olympics Committee, saying the opening ceremony for the Summer Games will go ahead as planned, and it's only hours away. And it follows what officials are calling coordinated sabotage, targeting train lines in France. A source tells CNN that French intelligence services are, quote, fully mobilized to find those responsible. The Olympic Committee has canceled a news conference about its ambitious opening ceremony, which will be held outdoors on the River Seine in what could be a rainy Paris. We've got team coverage in Paris. CNN's Amanda Davis is standing by. But first, let's go to Melissa Bell, reporting from the Montparnasse train station. Explain what's happening and how inconvenient and really frightening this has been, too.
And very difficult for Paris 2024 planners to have anticipated, to have prevented, Federico. What we're talking about is a series of coordinated sabotage attacks that happened at about 4 a.m. across the country. Now, there were cables cut, there was arson, and these installations, many of them signal boxes at crucial points that allow France's high-speed rail lines to function, were attacked. We don't yet know who's responsible, simply that from about 4 a.m. onwards, authorities began to understand that the entire, or huge parts rather, of France's rail network were going to be crippled. The Gare Montparnasse just behind me is one of Paris's main train stations. It's about to be entirely closed down. And it isn't simply those who had been hoping to arrive in Paris today for the opening ceremony, Federica, that are impacted. It is also the many hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, of French people who this Friday were hoping to set off on their summer holidays. We were just inside the train station, and they were announcing over the loudspeakers that people should put off any travel till Monday. Many people traveling with their small children, again, heading off for their annual break. So travel chaos and misery, we're being told, at least until Monday, as authorities frantically try and repair those train lines and installations that had allowed the rail network to function. Federica.
And then, do we have any idea of the numbers? How many people are we talking about? I mean, you've got tourists, you've got folks who are there just for the games. I do understand that the athletes are not going to be relying on the train system. And then the regular commuters there. I mean, this is hugely inconvenient.
It's hugely inconvenient, and it impacts not just people inside France, but people outside France hoping to come in. Large parts of the Eurostar network, of course, have been impacted as well. What we're hearing from the French main rail operator, the SNCF, is that they believe 250,000 people will be impacted today, but it is 800,000 over the course of the weekend. That sounds to me like an underestimate. They're really only just beginning to get their heads around the impact this is going to have on travel, again, not just in and out of the Paris 2024 Olympics, but for anyone who'd been hoping to leave France or come to France by rail today. Federica.
Wow, incredible. And of course, the investigation still ongoing, and we hope to hear more from authorities later on. Melissa, thank you so much. Of course, Melissa, we saw you on the River Seine yesterday. Amanda is there now because, or at least you're at the Arc de Triomphe, right? So that is going to be a centerpiece too for these Olympic Games. The opening ceremony, it will be historic for a number of reasons. Let's start with it being held outdoors on the River Seine. And then there's another interruption. We're not just talking about the train system, but weather. What is expected?
Yes, it was certainly not how the script had been written when we woke up this morning, not only to the news about the rail network disruption, but also to pouring rain. The message from the Sports Ministry has very much been, as you said at the top of the show will go on. We will just have to sing in the rain. The question, though, very much has been, who is it going to be doing the singing? It's certainly not going to be me, but all the rumours talking about Celine Dion, Lady Gaga, they've both been pictured here in Paris over the last couple of days for this truly unprecedented Olympic opening ceremony. This is the moment traditionally that the host city of a Games can really stake their claim and really set the tone for what is to come over the next couple of weeks. And really this has been the flagpole moment that Paris 2024 have been talking about since the very start. They wanted to do something very, very different. I have to say, given the political context that we're talking about, the political situation not only here in France but around the world, the first question that many people asked when we talked about this 6-kilometer journey along the River Seine, 100 boats, dancers on the bridges, all the teams out on display, 206 teams with thousands of the athletes who are due to be taking part, parading down the river in this 4-hour ceremony. People were asking about the safety and security, and we have got 40,000 police and security officials who have been descending here on Paris over the last few weeks and days. There is this soundtrack very much of sirens, which I'm sure you can hear going on behind us. This roundabout by the Arc de Triomphe has just gone into lockdown. All the cars have been cleared out, all the fans have been cleared from around the way. We're just seeing the VIPs who are all flocking into town to be part of it. But the message from the organisers is that the show will go on. They are not concerned. They are not changing their plans after the attacks on the train networks. And the president of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, has issued a statement in the last few minutes saying he has full confidence in the French security authorities.
Oh my goodness. Well, have your walking shoes right or a bike, because that's how you're getting around. And then now add a chapeau. You're going to need a hat with the rain. All right, Amanda Davis, Melissa Bell, thanks to both of you.